You know that feeling when you start something new? A workout plan, a side project, a new habit. And for the first 2 days, you feel like a god. Then day 3 hits, and you're back in bed scrolling, wondering what the hell happened. That's not random. That's a predictable pattern your brain runs every single time. And it's the reason most people spend their 20s starting over again and again. Everyone says your 20s are for making mistakes. I've got some bad news, that's half true. The mistakes you make in this decade don't just disappear, they compound. It's like walking through a minefield where every bad choice leaves a mark you'll trip over at 30. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to show you the exact map of the minefield, 10 fatal mistakes that quietly ruin lives. The thing I want you to picture for this whole video is a garage. Yeah, a garage. Think about it. What you build in that garage quietly decides what car you're driving at 30. If you fill it with rusty tools and broken dreams, you get a junker. But if you learn to weld, to fix, to build, that garage becomes the launch pad for everything. Most guys never even open the door. I'm 29 now. I've watched friends go from broke to unstoppable and from promising to completely lost. The difference isn't luck. It's a handful of decisions made early, repeated daily. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a surgical breakdown of the 10 mistakes that will quietly destroy your 20s. And number 1 is the one nobody talks about. If you're serious about not wasting your 20s, subscribe now, fellas. This is the stuff nobody tells you at family dinner. Now let's get into it. Mistake number 1. Believing motivation will carry you. You think you need more willpower, more drive, more fire, but motivation is a liar. It shows up on day 1, pumps you full of dopamine, then vanishes by day 3. It's a firework, bright, loud, gone. I had a buddy, let's call him Jake. At 22, Jake was the most motivated guy I knew. Woke up at 5 a.m., journaled, planned his whole empire. By day 4, he was back on the couch eating cereal at noon. Not because he was lazy, because he built his whole system on a fuel that runs out. Motivation isn't meant to last. It's a starter pistol, not the engine. Here's what I learned the hard way. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about what feels good right now. When you're working towards something that pays off in 6 months, your brain sees a long road and starts looking for shortcuts. Scrolling, snacking, napping. Those hit instantly. It's not that you stopped caring. Your brain just did the math and chose the easy win. So here's the fix. And it's the opposite of what you think. Don't try to be more disciplined. Remove the resistance. Make the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard. Put your phone in another room. Delete the apps. Set your workout clothes next to your bed. Your brain is lazy by design. Make the good path the path of least resistance and you'll win without fighting yourself. That's mistake 1. Mistake 2 is even sneakier. Waiting for the perfect moment. I did this for years. I'd say I'll start when school calms down or after I get some proper sleep. Sound familiar? That pause feels harmless, but it's a trap. The longer you wait, the more you convince yourself you don't need to move at all. Numbness sets in, and suddenly a month has passed. The garage I mentioned earlier? Most guys never open the door because they're waiting for the right tools, the right weather, the right moment. But the garage doesn't care about your excuses. It just sits there, empty. The guy who starts building with a rusty hammer and a bent nail is already ahead of the guy still reading reviews on tool sets. Motion beats perfection every time. And here's the wild part. Your brain actually makes a logical choice when it waits. It's not lazy, it's protective. It remembers past failures and says, why try again? That's learned helplessness. In the 1960s, researchers shocked dogs repeatedly with no escape. When a way out appeared, they didn't take it, they just lay down. Your brain does the same if you failed enough times. But here's the truth, your brain doesn't know. The data is outdated. You're not the same person who failed before. You've learned something. The only way to prove it to your nervous system is to take one small action. Send one email, do one stretch, open the garage door, and sweep the floor. That's not rebuilding the empire. That's proving to your brain that movement is safe again. Mistake 3. Thinking discipline is about willpower. Everyone says, you just need more discipline. If that worked, we'd all be millionaire bodybuilders by now. The truth? Discipline matters most when the effort feels low. Real consistency doesn't come from punching through resistance. It comes from lowering resistance. Think of your habits like a slide. Angle it right, and gravity does the work. I learned this one the hard way with fitness. I kept trying to force myself to run 5 miles every morning. Lasted 3 days. Then I switched to put on your shoes and walk to the end of the street. That's it. Some days I'd run, some days I'd just walk. But I never missed a day, because the bar was so low I couldn't fail. That's the slide angled right. Here's a counterintuitive fact. The most consistent people aren't the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones who design their environments so they don't need willpower. Your brain has a gas pedal for new ideas and a brake pedal for effort. Most guys floor the gas for a week, then hit the brakes and wonder why they crash. Smart guys design a system that coasts. Mistake 4. Ignoring your health until it's a crisis. In your 20s you feel invincible. You can eat garbage, sleep 4 hours and still function. But that's borrowing from your future self with interest. By 30, the debt comes due. I've seen guys who partied through their 20s end up with chronic back pain, anxiety disorders and a beer belly that won't quit. The garage doesn't fix itself. The research is brutal. Loneliness can hurt your health as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's how much connection matters. Yet most guys in their 20s isolate themselves. They think they're being independent, but they're just slowly starving their nervous system of human contact. Your garage needs other people to help lift the heavy parts. No one builds a life alone. Remember Jake, my buddy from earlier? He hit 25 and realized he had no real friends. Just drinking buddies and online acquaintances. When his dad got sick, he had nobody to call. That's the cost of ignoring connection in your 20s. It's not dramatic, it's a slow fade. One missed hangout, one ignored text, and suddenly you're alone in your garage with nothing but rusty tools. Mistake 5. Chasing status instead of substance. You think a nice car, a fancy watch, or a big apartment will make you feel like a man. I thought that too. At 22, I bought a car I couldn't afford because I wanted to look successful. 6 months later, I was eating ramen and stressing about payments. That car didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel trapped. The guys who win in their 30s aren't the ones who looked rich at 25. They're the ones who invested in skills, relationships, and health. Things that compound. Status is a mirage. It looks real from a distance. But up close, it's just debt and anxiety. Your garage doesn't care about the paint job on your car. It cares about the engine underneath. Here's a reversal for you. You think success comes from saying yes to every opportunity. Actually, it comes from saying no to almost everything. Your 20s are a buffet, and most guys try to eat everything on the table. They end up with indigestion and no real progress. The smart ones pick 3 things: career, health, relationships, and get ruthlessly good at those. The rest is noise. Mistake 6. Staying in a job or relationship that drains you out of fear. I had a friend who stayed in a dead-end retail job for 4 years because it was safe. He hated every shift, but the paycheck was predictable. Meanwhile, his buddy who quit and started a landscaping business was making triple by year 2. Comfort is a cage with a soft floor. It feels safe until you try to leave. The same goes for relationships. If you're with someone who doesn't push you to be better, who makes you feel small, or who just fills the space, you're paying with your future. I've seen guys waste their entire 20s in mediocre relationships because they were afraid of being alone. Then they hit 30, single, and realize they never built the life they actually wanted. And wait till you hear what mistake 7 cost me. But first, let me tell you about the time I almost quit everything. I was 15, sitting in a hot car, letting the heat build up. I decided I wanted to end it all. Right before I made a permanent decision, a single thought came. I want to be there for the people around me. That changed everything. But I didn't bounce back overnight. After that day, I went back to doing what most people do when they're lost. I thought about changing. I planned on changing, but I kept waiting for the right moment. I'll start next week, I'd say, once school calms down. That waiting felt harmless, but it was dangerous. The longer I waited, the more I convinced myself that maybe things were fine enough. Numbness is a slow poison. The scariest part? I almost stayed there. That's what people miss. When you survive a rock bottom moment, you don't always bounce back with fire. Sometimes you settle into a quiet, heavy fog. You don't even realize you're sinking again. If you've had a wake-up call, don't wait for the perfect time to move. Momentum doesn't come before motion. You need proof that you're not frozen. Mistake 7. Perfectionism disguised as high standards. This is the one that cost me real money and years. I used to think if I couldn't do something perfectly, I shouldn't do it at all. Missed a workout? I'll restart Monday. Didn't finish a task. Throw out the whole plan. That mindset is fear wearing a suit. Perfection isn't a standard, it's a stalling tactic. If you've made it this far, you're not the guy this list is trying to save. You're already trying. Good. Keep going. Because here's what I learned. I didn't rebuild my life by doing everything right. I rebuilt it with 5-minute wins. Just enough to move, not enough to burn out. Lower the bar deliberately. Write one line, do one set at the gym. Clean one thing. Small motion beats no motion. Mistake 8. Thinking your 20s are for finding yourself. That's a luxury belief sold by people who already have money. The truth? Your 20s are for building yourself. You don't find your purpose by traveling to Bali and journaling. You find it by trying things, failing, and noticing what sticks. The garage doesn't reveal its purpose when you stare at it. It reveals it when you start building. I get it. Every generation says their 20s were hard. And yeah, that's true. But this generation faces something different. An algorithm that feeds you everyone's highlight reel while you're stuck in your low points. Money is tight. Housing feels impossible. Community exists on a screen more than in person. The loneliness is real. But here's what's different. You have more tools than any generation before. You can learn any skill online. You can connect with anyone on the planet. You can start a business with zero capital. The problem isn't the tools, it's that most guys use those tools to scroll instead of build. Your garage has every tool you could ever need. But if you spend all day watching other people use their tools, yours stay rusty. The algorithm doesn't care about your dreams. Mistake 9. Not learning to manage your money early. I know it's boring. But this is the one that separates the guys who are free at 30 from the guys who are trapped. Every dollar you spend on something that doesn't grow is a dollar your future self has to earn back with interest. The garage needs materials, wood, metal, tools. If you spend your paycheck on beer and takeout, the garage stays empty. I had a friend who started investing $200 a month at 22. Nothing crazy, just index funds and a 401k. By 30, he had over $60,000 saved. Another friend bought a new truck at 23 and spent 5 years paying it off. Same income, completely different trajectory. The garage you build in your 20s determines the car you drive in your 30s. Here's another reversal. You think discipline is about being hard on yourself. Actually, it's about being kind to your future self. When you save money, you're not punishing yourself. You're buying your future self freedom. When you work out, you're not suffering. You're giving your future self a body that works. Every small sacrifice now is a gift to the guy you'll be in 10 years. Mistake 10, and this is the sharpest one, is believing your feelings are facts. You feel like a failure, so you think you are one. You feel stuck, so you think you'll never move. But feelings are weather, not geography. They pass. The guy who feels like quitting but keeps going anyway is the one who wins. The garage doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you do. I learned this one in the worst way. After that day in the car, I spent years thinking I was broken. Every setback felt like proof. But here's what I know now. Your brain lies to you when you're hurting. It tells you that you're alone, that nothing will change, that you're the exception to hope. None of that is true. The only way to break the lie is to act against it. So let's talk about the guy who wrote a post I saw. He said, being dead is better than living to be a failure. He felt ugly, stupid, and like his whole life depended on one exam. That's the 3 lies. Your worth comes from your appearance, your worth comes from your grades, and one failure means the end. Those lies nearly destroyed him, but they're not true. Truth number 1. Your worth was there the moment you were born. Appearance might affect how people treat you short term, but it has no power to define your real value. Truth number 2. Success isn't about one score. I had a friend who got 8% on a math test in high school. We still clown him for it. Now he's studying abroad in a 7-year medical program. Truth number 3. Setbacks are not endings. I failed my first math class in college when I wanted to be a surgeon. I sat in front of the school building almost ready to cry. I quit that path. But life worked out in other ways. Every single highly accomplished person has a library full of failures. The only difference is they didn't let those moments decide the rest of their life. So here's what you do when those lies creep in. First, shrink your world to today. Don't think about where you want to be at 40. Just think about what you can control before you go to bed tonight. Second, build a small success. Clean your room, walk for 5 minutes, send a message. Third, speak something real to one person. These steps interrupt the chain reaction that leads deeper down. And if you're the guy who wrote that post, or if you're in that same place, imagine yourself 1 year from now. Still human, still imperfect. But now you've stacked dozens of small wins. You've had conversations that matter. You've built enough proof to know that even bad days can be survived. The exam you thought would define you is now just one page in a much bigger book. But this pattern, the one that almost made him give up, is part of something bigger affecting millions right now. More young people than ever are reaching a point where they don't want to keep going. And for many, it's not a one-time thought. It's becoming normal, like an addiction. Somewhere in your head, there's a quiet question asking if you even care if you make it to tomorrow. The education system trains you to measure yourself by results instead of growth. It's like judging a tree's entire value by whether it produces fruit this season, without realizing its roots are spreading deeper underground, preparing for years of future growth. You might fail the test, but if you've grown in the process, you've already won something bigger in the long term. I have a friend who got an 8% on a math test in high school. We still clown him to this day, 8 years later. In community college, he had a low 2-point-something GPA, but now he's studying abroad in a 7-year program and doing incredibly well for himself. Another friend had a 1-point-something GPA and is about to finish his master's degree in the medical field. Even me, when I first started college, I wanted to become an orthopedic surgeon. That meant I needed perfect grades to get into med school, but I ended up failing my first math class. I remember sitting in front of the school building, almost ready to cry. Eventually, I quit that path. But life worked out in so many other ways. In those moments, we all thought it was the end of our world. Truth number 3, setbacks are not endings. They're part of the process. The people who go far are the ones who treat obstacles as part of the map, instead of proof that they should turn back. But even with those 3 truths, your brain can pull you back to the old patterns instantly. That's why you need something you can do in the moment to stop it. If you ever feel the way that person did in that post, here are 3 ways to create breathing room in your mind right now. Number 1, shrink your world to today. Think of only the things you can control before you go to bed tonight. Not the big picture. Not where you want to be at 40. Just the next 24 hours. That makes things feel more controllable and achievable in the very short term. Number 2, build a small success. Do something that gives you even a tiny sense of control. Clean up your room. Go for a 5-minute walk. Send a message to check on a friend. It's never about fixing everything in one go. It's about proving you can still create change. And number 3, speak something real. Find one person, online or offline, and tell them something true about how you're feeling. These steps sound small, but they interrupt the mental chain reaction that leads you deeper into hopelessness. Imagine the person who wrote that post 1 year later. Still the same person, still human, still imperfect. But now they've stacked up dozens of small wins. They've had conversations that matter. They've learned skills they didn't have before. They've built enough proof to know that even bad days can be survived. The exam you once thought would define you is now just one page in a much bigger book. You've learned that your worth never came from that test. And even if you stumble again, it won't erase everything you built. But this pattern, the one that almost made him give up, is part of something much bigger that's affecting millions of people right now. And the garage you've been building in your 20s, it's not about one tool or one shelf. It's about the whole structure. The foundation you laid with those small wins, the walls you built with honest conversations, the roof that keeps the rain out when everything else falls apart. That garage decides what car you're driving at 30. And the guy I told you about, the one who got the 8% on the math test, is driving a good car now. Not because he never failed, but because he kept building after every failure. If you've been stuck in this loop, nothing changes until your days do. The fastest way I know to rebuild structure, purpose, and momentum from where you are right now is the 30-day game plan. You send me your day, I send you the plan, ready to start instantly. Link is in the description. But before you go, let me tell you what that dad's comment taught me about why we're all still here. He said, to anyone reading this who may be struggling like my daughter did, we need you here. It will get better. Don't be afraid to ask for help until it does. If that's you, your first step doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be telling one person what's been on your mind, writing it down and sliding the paper across the table, sending a text that just says I need help. Think of it like throwing a rope over a wall. You don't have to climb it today. You just need to make sure someone's holding the other end. And once they are, you've already changed the odds of getting over it. If even one of these truths hit home, smash the like button. It's the only reason this kind of video keeps getting made instead of more fluff. Tell me down below which number you're starting with tonight. Subscribe and join the crew, fellas. I do this every week. Your 30s will thank you. Next time, we're breaking down the exact 3 lies that keep you stuck in a job you hate. The garage isn't built in a day, but you've already laid the first beam tonight. Stay one more day, then another, and another. You matter more than you think.